Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're making some money. Maybe business has picked up a little bit. I know it's crazy out there. Kelsey and I looked at a house today. I'm not going to show you the house. But when I looked in the crawl space, this is kind of what I saw. A bunch of spider webs. So I thought I'd just share with you. That's my appraiser's temporary spider web remover tool. Yeah, it was a stick, but you could see all the all the webbing that I got out of the way, so that when I went up to take another picture of the crawl space, I could actually see stuff instead of just a wall of spider webs. Man, the challenges that we have as appraisers, it's never ending, right? So hope you're doing well. I want to talk to you about something that we're continuing to see appraisers make mistakes on. We do a lot of review work under our new entity, Reynolds and Rill. Paul Rill and I created a little company, and we're doing some review works and doing some compliance reviews. I'm doing some reviews for a state as well. But one thing that we continue to see a common thread on, there's several, but one in particular I want to talk to you about. I want to make sure that you're not doing something you're supposed to be doing. All right. I want to make sure that you are meeting your applicable USPAP requirements when it comes to reporting, also analyzing, but we're going to spend a little bit more time on reporting in this podcast. So don't miss it. Stay right where you are. If you have access to look at this on the YouTube channel, do that, because I'm going to show you some graphics as well that I would really love for you to see. Otherwise, just listen and you can go back and watch the video recording at another time. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Bryan Reynolds. You're listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast, brought to you as always by the great folks over at Appraiser eLearning. You need some education? Check us out at AppraiserELearning.com. You'll be glad you did. Special shout out to my sponsor, LIA Administrators and Insurance. Thank you so much for your continued support of the Appraisal Update Podcast. All right, let's dive into this. Again, I want to make sure that you don't find yourself in trouble for this particular topic that we continue to see is an ongoing problem. And I think part of the issue is these dang pre-printed forms, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, these dang pre-printed forms. The problem with pre-printed forms are they're pre-printed. In part, that's part of the problem. And I know these things are changing. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac are going to be talking about the unveiling of the new stuff at Val Expo coming up really soon. We hope to see you there. But let's dive into this a little bit. I want to spend a couple of minutes on this, and then we'll get into reporting as well. But this is, probably the number one form, at least in the United States, that is utilized by appraisers for residential appraisal purposes, especially, obviously, for mortgage finance transactions, right? And the form has been around for a while. If you look down at the bottom, in the left-hand side, it says Freddie Mac form number 70. A lot of appraisers talk about the form 1004 form, and I've done that too. It's commonly known as the 1004 form, but that's merely Fannie Mae's form number. Let's give Freddie Mac a little love. Why don't we start calling it form 70, right? That's the Freddie Mac form number. But you'll see right here, March of 2005. Well, what is that date? What's March of 2005? Well, that's the date that this form was most recently revised. It's got a little dust on it, right? Just under 20 years. That's a long time ago, 2005. And I remember, man, when this form came out, Mr. George Cox, myself, Larry McMillan, Larry Disney, and Henry Harrison all put on a seminar up around the Cincinnati area talking about the new forms. And we had a bunch of people in attendance, right? What's going to happen with the new forms? They're not so new anymore, but the one area I want to stick on during this podcast anyway is down here when we talk about highest and best use, right? And I'm gonna spend a minute before we get to that single line because of what I'm going to show you in a minute, a case that really happened. But if you look at zoning compliance, legal, non-conforming, no zoning, or illegal. Now it's important to understand that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's not going to lend. I don't think FHA will insure. I don't think VA will guarantee on an illegal use. Right? So if it's illegal, we got some issues. And what I typically do is call my client, have a conversation. Hey, this property has an ADU situated on it. That's not allowed under our zoning, and therefore it's an illegal use. What do you want me to do? It's the lender's decision. I'm not going to say, oh, they're not going to make a loan. I'm not a banker. I'm not a lender. That's the lender's decision. But I'll certainly bring it to the lender's attention and get some guidance on how do you want me to proceed. You want me to stop? You want me to appraise it in its current use? Do you want to convert it to make it legal, right? We'll come back to that in a little demonstration I'm going to give you in a minute. But down here it says, is the highest and best use of the subject property as improved or per plans and specs the present use? Now, we could talk about highest and best use for days, and I'm working on a couple of courses on highest and best use, so keep watching. It's coming. But this is the form. Look, it says, is the highest and best use basically the present use? Yes or no? If you check yes, you're done, right? That's all it says on the form. And if you check no, it says if no, describe. So there's a line here to describe why it is not indicative of the highest and best use. Guys, if you check yes, are you really done? Well, you've got this little thing called USPAP out there. Remember USPAP? When Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and USPAP bumps head, who wins that fight? I mean, if you have to adhere to USPAP, guys, I don't care what the form has on it or doesn't have on it that should have on it. USPAP's going to win that fight. So you're stating whether or not you complied with the applicable reporting requirements of uniform standards. Do you think almost a 20-year-old form, I mean, this form was printed almost 20 years ago. Does that get you in compliance with the current edition of USPAP? Probably not. So let's look at the authoritative source. Let's look at USPAP real quick. Now, for the development aspect, and that's a longer conversation, but you really need to get a good grasp on highest and best use, guys. It's one of the most important decisions you make in the appraisal process, in my opinion. Standard 1 is the appraisal. Standard 2 is the appraisal report, two different things. If we jump down to standard rule 1, the development, the appraisal, everything you got to do to get your number, look at standard rule 1-3, market analysis and highest and best use. When necessary for credible assignment results in developing a market value opinion, an appraiser must, you got to do all those things, right? And so you have to develop an opinion of highest and best use. But now let's look at the reporting, right? Let's look at the reporting. When we get down to the reporting that's in Standard Rule 2, we're going to look at Standard Rule 2.2a. So I went a little too far there. We're going to look at Standard Rule 2.2a, Roman numeral, used to be 10. Gosh, it was 10 forever. They changed it now to 12. I think they just try and confuse me a little bit. So if you look at Standard Rule 2.2a, Roman numeral 12, it says, when an opinion of highest and best use was developed by the appraiser, state that opinion, and, this is the killer, guys, summarize the support and rationale for that opinion. There it is in black and white. So the pre-printed form ought to have check here for yes, and here's a blank for putting your support and rationale as required by Standard Rule 2.2a, Roman numeral 12, if no, describe. It doesn't have that. So I think in, kind of the appraiser's defense, which is no defense, the pre-printed form didn't steer me in that direction. Again, USPAP doesn't care about pre-printed forms, guys. This pre-printed form was developed by Fannie and Freddie for Fannie and Freddie. It's giving them the data or the information they need to make a decision on whether or not to make a loan or buy a loan. It wasn't done to get you in compliance with USPAP. So if you're just checking yes, and that's all you're doing, you're going to have some problems if anyone looks really close. And I do some consulting. I help appraisers that get in trouble. I'm trying to help you get out of trouble. Now, if you're out there reckless, careless, and doing things you shouldn't be doing, you don't call me. I'm not going to help you. If you made an honest mistake, or maybe you're being accused of something you don't think that you did wrong, that's a service I provide. Others do. Tim Anderson provides that service. Diana Jacob provides that service. There's others out there that provide consulting along that vein, right, to try and help you out. You call me up and say, hey, they're accusing me of Standard Rule 22A, Roman numeral 12 violation, and what's wrong with this board? And I look at your report and it's not in there, guys. I can't miraculously, magically make your support and rationale show up in your report. It's either in there or not. It's either in your report or it's not in your report, period. And we see that USPAP requires that support and rationale to be in your report. So please have something. We're doing reviews right now, and we're still seeing this to be an issue. How do we shake the trees? How do we get the word out? Well, I've been doing it this way since the form came out, Bryan, 2005. I've been doing this 20 years this way. Nobody's ever... I don't care how long you've been doing it the wrong way. It doesn't matter if you have years of experience doing it the wrong way. Start doing it the right way yesterday. It's going to be hard to argue you didn't violate USPAP when you did. Now, I want to show you a recent house I stumbled across. I want to show you how easy it is to check zoning, at least where I'm setting, and probably where you're setting too. I want to tell you what happened, and it's not great, guys. It's not great. But I'll do that right after a little word from my sponsor, right? So, guys, I really appreciate LIA Administrators and Insurance Services for promoting this webinar, or excuse me, podcast, and supporting us. We certainly appreciate it. I don't get paid for doing this. This is our way to give back. Appraiser eLearning is all about giving free stuff as much as we can. So thank you, LIA Administrators and Insurance. You know, since 1978, talking about going back to 2005, how about 1978? Since 1978, LIA Administrators and Insurance has been offering E&O insurance to valuation professionals. LIA has superior customer service, exceptional liability, education, unparalleled claim defense to serve over 10,000 real estate appraisers nationwide. They have all types of insurance like commercial bonds, general liability, cyber liability, and more. General liability, man, maybe you need to think about not just E&O coverage. Maybe you need a general liability policy in addition to your E&O policy. Visit liability.com to learn more about how LIA can protect you and your business. Thanks again, LIA. I appreciate it. All right, guys, let's dive back into this. I've got one more little snippet I want to share with you. I was contacted to appraise a church building, and we ended up not doing that for various reasons. The house next to it, but I learned a little something during this assignment request, and I want to share this with you. So I'm going to share my screen, and this is going to bring you to where I'm sitting. This is the Owensboro Metropolitan Planning Commission website, okay? And this is free. You can get right on the internet and grab it. What I did just now. I'm going to go up to, and I'm doing this real time, so bear with me. I'm going up to GIS mapping. I'm pulling up a map of my city where I'm sitting right now. And once this comes up, I'm going to just kind of zoom in. I could type the address over here. I don't know the address. So I'm just going to zoom in. This is an aerial map of Owensboro, okay? And it looks like it's lagging a little bit, so my apologies there. And I'm going to come up north a little bit. I'm almost there. A little bit of lag. I don't know if that's their site or my internet. It could be me. All right, so this street right here, Cravens, and I'm not going to give you specific addresses, but this is where some properties are located. Okay, and again, we were asked to do a church building, and it's being utilized as a church. And then there's a house right here, and we got into this assignment a little bit, and we checked the zoning, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm coming down, and I'm pulling up these overlays, and you see zoning. Now you're going to see the map change colors, and it did. All right, go get that away. And so this is a big school, and then there's some various improvements. There's a fire department, a little fire station right here. There's a house right here, and there is that church building right here on the corner. And you see the zoning. You see the overlays here. You see how this is a little bit of a yellow color. It says P1. Down here on the far right, it's R4DT, which that's inner city residential. Up here is R4DT as well. We got a little B4 going on. We got some R1C. That's residential as well. But P1 is professional. Okay. So this little house right here, we found out in a P1 zoning, you can have a parsonage. So the house that the minister of this church or preacher of this church lives in, and that's allowed under P1. But if they sell that house, could you or I move into it and live in it as a house? The answer is no. The P1 zoning does not allow for residential use. It has to be professional. Or a school's permissible, a fire department's permissible, a church building's permissible, but a house to live in as a house is not permissible. Here's where it gets interesting. You see over here across the street, this little corner here, that's a house. It's a single family house. And somebody lives in it, and they shouldn't be. So this is an illegal use presently. There's a chance maybe they could get a zoning change. I talked to planning and zoning. You got, residential all around it except on this one side, and you got a street kind of. But what happened was that used to be the church's house, and it's no longer. This one is. So as a consequence, this is on P1, which means it should be a professional, unless they get a zoning change. But as of today, it's P1. And that house sold, and somebody appraised it because it closed via FHA. And it's in illegal use. So my whole point of sharing that with you is be careful. Check the zoning. Check what the permissible uses are. Do your job, basically. And be sure the important thing, all of that's important, but the important point of this podcast was to share with you USPAP, the pre-printed form, and make sure you're doing more than just checking boxes on a form. You are required to do a highest and best use analysis if you need to for credible sign results, which you do. And you need to provide your support and your rationale for your highest and best use analysis in your report. And that is a consequence of Standard Rule 22A, Roman numeral 12 that I showed you earlier. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're taking a little break here and there. I just got back from South Carolina and about to head out to Vegas for Val Expo. I hope to see you there. Until next time, stay safe, make some money, diversify your practice a little bit, and happy appraising.
The Appraisal Update podcast is brought to you by Appraiser eLearning.